Hey there, my name is Shreya and you're watching the Stitch by Shreya Knitting Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about a couple of finished objects, some works in progress, some acquisitions, and just things that I plan to do over the next couple of months to kind of whip down. Before we get into the episode, I did want to talk about a couple of little housekeeping things. One, you can find me on the internet at Stitch by Shreya on Instagram or on Ravelry if you use Ravelry, Stitch by Shreya on there as well. I do update my Ravelry and Instagram with the most up-to-date information regarding my projects, and it's like probably the quickest way to get in contact with me is through my Instagram. So if you're not following me there, please go ahead and check me out on Instagram. And I've decided that I'm going to try to maintain a posting schedule on YouTube, at least for the next couple of months until I deliver. If you don't know, I'm pregnant, so I have a due date that's in early December. And I just thought it might be nice to kind of document what's going on in the next couple of months and do that with my knitting and see all the things I get up to pre-baby. So I'm planning to do every 2 weeks, and then we'll see if I need to decrease that a little bit later on. So that's pretty much all the housekeeping that I have. I'm also super close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're enjoying my content and you're not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It would really mean a lot to me. So yeah, without further ado, why don't we go ahead and just jump into the finished objects and what I'm wearing today. So today I am wearing my finished Matthew pullover. This is a test knit I did for Aimee Sher. Aimee is a wonderful designer. Aimee is a wonderful designer. I've knit many of their patterns at this point, and I've test knitted for them numerous times as well. And this pattern basically flew off my needles once I started really getting into it. It's knit out of Nordlund yarn. So this is in the shade Jera. And I actually have some of the plate to show you. So this is the color that I used for the full body, and I held it double. It kind of creates a worsted or Aran gauge when you hold it double. But the beauty of unspun yarn is that because it's so light and airy, when you block it, it kind of fills in all the gaps that you might see otherwise. It is a pretty, like, weight-wise, it's really lightweight. However, it insulates really well. So I'm wearing this right now, and it's probably 70 something degrees outside. So I might end up taking it off later because I'm pretty warm already. But this is such a great piece for the fall. I am wearing it with the collared shirt underneath, and I do notice that my neckband is a little bit on the wider side. So what I'm planning to do in the next couple of weeks is thread an elastic through the cast off, or the bind off right here, and then maybe even an additional one around the pickup line. And that'll just cinch it in just a little bit more. I do plan on wearing this with something underneath most of the time, but it'll just be nice to kind of not let it be so open. You'll see that there's like a lovely, nice cable detail that runs throughout. I'm not sure how noticeable it is, but with the Nordlund, it is quite a bit fluffier. Nordlund has decent definition, but I would kind of compare this to like when you're holding mohair with a yarn. It has like a little bit of a halo effect to it. And if I understand correctly, each blend of Nordlund, like from different color to different color, they have different amounts of different sheep breeds in it. So some colorways might be softer, some colorways might have more of a halo. So it really just depends on the color to color for the effect that you're gonna get. So this one, I find it to be a little bit fuzzy. And I also have already picked off a couple pills, and I haven't worn it too intensely. I have one other garment that's made in Nordlund, and that garment is a vest. So because it's a vest, I don't have to worry about like the sleeves pilling as much. But I've just noticed in my own wear and tear with most of my garments, my sleeves are where the pills pick up the most, usually like right here on this side. That's usually where I notice the most pilling for myself. I don't know why that is. I don't know, because like maybe it's because I like rest my hands, or when I walk they rub, but that's typically where I notice the pilling the most. And I've picked off a couple of them, but it's not to the point where I need to like get my gleaner and really go at it. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a really hardy, warm winter sweater. It's gonna be great to just throw on. It's super cozy. And I'm gonna go ahead and get up and just show you kind of generally the overall fit on me. So it goes, so this is my belly area, my belly button. And this is like my high hip, and it goes even below that. So I did do quite a long length on this one. And I really like that actually, because I think most of my sweaters tend to like stop right at the waistband or like 1 or 2 inches below. So this is my first like really oversized feeling jumper that I have. So that is the Matthew pullover. I think the release date is October 12th, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just put that information here if I'm wrong. But the release date is middle October, and it's perfect for fall. And since it's such a thicker yarn, it's gonna work up really fast. It is bottom up, so some people might find that to be a nuisance to knit. I've just somehow not, one, I don't have a problem knitting bottom up, but two, like somehow most of the things that I've been working on lately are all bottom up. And I really love like a top-down garment because I like trying things on as I go. But when it comes to bottom up, I would usually just lay the thing that I'm working on top of a sweater that fits me at a length that I like. And based on that, where the armhole should be, I compare it, and if I need to add an inch or two, I will. Yeah, and then I think the other thing is that the sleeves are really long. They definitely lengthened during the blocking process. I think because when I was like laying it out to dry, I was laying it on my bed, and the sleeve itself kind of draped off to the side over the edge of the bed, so it might have just like gone out a little bit. I'm guessing when you like bend your arms and stuff, like sleeves tend to shrink a little bit. So I'm not really, as I said, I'm not bothered. It's a nice oversized fit. It feels great. But I'm kind of sweating a little bit now, so maybe I'm just gonna do a quick change and then we'll be back. Okay, I am much more temperature regulated now. I don't know why I started sweating. I think it's because the room that I'm in is like the sunniest room in the house, and that sweater is not meant to be worn right now. I think I need to wait a couple more weeks before it starts to cool down. It's great for early mornings and like late nights when it's starting to cool down. But in the house, I really don't need to wear something so heavy. So cool. Now I can finally move on to finished objects. So my first finished object, let me just grab it. The first finished object that we have today are a pair of socks. So these are just some 3x1 vanilla socks that I made. Go ahead and bring it up to the camera so you can kind of see. So this is Woolberry Fibre Co. in the BFL sock base, and it is in the shade Poetry. So this is just a lovely, lovely grayish purple sock skein that I got quite a bit ago. I had originally cast these on to use them for a test knit for Aimee, the oolong socks, but I quickly noticed that the yarn was a little bit too busy, and the test knit that I was doing was for a patterned lace work sock. So because of which I was like, you know what, this is like, got way too much going on, and I pivoted and I did a 3x1 sock. I had done, I think the heel, so I'd gotten to the heel in like May because like it wasn't a priority knit, so I wasn't really working on it. And then I just didn't work on it at all until I took it on vacation with me to San Diego. And then while I was in San Diego, I finished one sock in a night. And then I picked up the second sock and I was just like, okay, let me just get the cuff done. And then I was like, oh, well, you know, the cuff is done. Maybe I'll just get a little bit more done. And I hammered it out in probably like 2 days. I finished the second sock, which is just amazing. I think it's just lovely when I can like gain momentum on a project and then just get the whole thing done. So my sock recipe for this one is pretty easy. So I did a 72 stitch cast on. I think I did 15 rows of twisted rib. I did about 50 rows of the foot, and then I did a shadow wrap heel. For the shadow wrap heel, I did like 12 here, 12 along the foot, and then 12 on the other side. If you don't know, the Earth Tones girl has a really great tutorial on how to do the shadow wrap heel, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't done that before. And then I think for my foot, it was about 70 rows, and then I just did a standard toe decrease. These are great. One thing I did notice is that since it had been so long from starting the sock to finishing it, my second sock has a different gauge than my first one. My second sock is like ever so slightly looser, but I am just gonna call it a win that I finished them and that they're off the needles and that I don't have this to take with me into 2024. Because a big goal of mine is to finish all of my works in progress by next year. And I'll be talking about that a little bit later in today's episode, but I have some ideas about how I can get all my projects done this year. Since I had started this before I realized that a 68 stitch cast on was better for my foot, I just decided to keep it at 72 stitches for the cast on. And then I think moving forward, I'm just gonna move with my new updated sock formula or sock recipe. So yeah, done with finished object number 1. And then the second finished object that I have today is actually so very special. I just felt like, so I was actually supposed to film yesterday, and this was a whip yesterday, and I finished it this morning because I was like, you know what? I wasn't in the mood to film yesterday, and I was like, you know what? Let me just push myself and see if I can finish the project for filming today. And I did that, and I'm just like so proud of myself because I really could have stretched this knit out as long as I could, but I finished it because I just ended up getting kind of addicted to knitting it. And without further ado, without any more hesitation, I will show you my Skyline pullover. So this beautiful, beautiful garment I finished this morning. I started the ribbing and I finished the ribbing yesterday, but let me just rewind a little bit. I started this project, I think August 20th, and I finished it, today is September 21st. So I finished it in about like 30 something days, 31, 32 days, which is incredible to me. It's so nice to know that I can finish a sweater in like a month. And it's a realistic thing for me to hit and that I can actually do it. That being said, I spent a lot of time knitting on this in the past couple of weeks. This was the other project I took with me on my vacation. Okay, so I had brought this with me on my vacation to San Diego. And when I brought it, I had finished the back panel and I started the front, but I had not connected in the round yet. And so when I took this with me on my trip, I only took the skeins of yarn that were attached to it. And my push goal to myself was to finish that first skein of yarn and the first skein of mohair by the time I got back home. I didn't do that. I got pretty close. I think I had like 10 grams left of fingering weight by the time I got home. And I'd connected in the round and I'd done a ton of the body, like probably 4 or 5 inches by the time I got home from my trip. And then when I got home, I finished the yarn, picked up for the neckband, finished the neckband, and then I decided I'm just gonna jump into the sleeves. So typically what I've done is I do the body and then I do the sleeves, but I just had a feeling that I was gonna get a little bit of Not necessarily second sleeve syndrome, but I just was gonna stall out while doing the sleeves. And so I finished the first sleeve. Actually, I think this was the first one I did. I finished the first sleeve in like 2 or 3 days. And then I did the second sleeve in one day, like one 24-hour period. Yeah, I finished the second sleeve in 1 day. That's crazy to me. Now that I know I can do it, is that gonna make me want to do sleeves more? No, because I knit this, and this is the only thing I knit last Friday. Like I woke up, picked up for the sleeve, and then just did the whole thing in 1 day. And while that's like very doable, it's not something I recommend because I think I started feeling burnout on this project at that point, and so I didn't end up working on it for the rest of the weekend. But this sleeve, it has a really nice tapered decrease. I think she recommends that you knit until about 14.5 inches, and then you consider starting the cuff, the sleeve cuff. But I'm a tall girl. I have long arms. I have a long torso. So I think my sleeve ended up measuring like 20 inches by the time I finished, which is fine. Like that's not an issue that they're long. I just didn't realize that I was going to be knitting that much in 1 day. And then I was like, at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I just knit 20 inches. And at one point, like the sleeve had like 80 plus. It was like knitting a whole sock in a day. Almost. Because I think socks have a little bit more, at least my socks have more stitches per round than like the sleeve did. But that's a lot of knitting. So I finished both sleeves from like Monday to Friday. Then I picked back up on the body, and I finished the body Wednesday night. And then yesterday, no, today's Thursday. So I picked up the body on Monday and I had 5 inches done. So Monday to Tuesday, I finished the body, which was about 12 inches. Oh my God, I knit 7 inches in 2 days. Wow. And then yesterday was Wednesday, and Wednesday I knit 3.5 inches of ribbing, and I started the bind off. And then this morning I finished the tubular bind off, and I did a tubular bind off finish for everything, which I usually just stick to Italian because I just don't feel the need to do all the setup. But I decided, let me just put the little bit of extra effort and do the setup rows. And I really love the finishes on everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a little close-up. I did not alternate skeins for this project. And I also don't even know if I introduced the yarn. Okay, very bad of me. This is the Skyline Pullover by Tori. This is like my, I guess, 3rd test knit for her. And the yarn is Through the Wardrobe Yarn Co. Stellina is a good friend of mine now, and she has really beautiful, lovely pastels and dye style that I just enjoy immensely. This colorway is called Sleeping Beauty, and I'm using Sleeping Beauty on her Magical Mohair base as well as Fairy Tale sock base. Oh my God, I found a hair, get out of there. Okay, much better. So this is done. I have to block it. I have not blocked it yet because I just finished it this morning and I was going to show it on camera pre-blocking. My tension is pretty even. I would say it looks really good. I'm excited to see the ribbing kind of even out a little bit more. But all in all, I think it's just a stunning, stunning, stunning sweater. This one is not necessarily cropped on me, but it's also not like a longer pullover. I think I added 2 inches to the body. She recommends, I think maybe 10.5 inches of stockinette, and I did 12. And then it's 3.5 inches of ribbing. It's a lovely saddle shoulder construction, the first one for myself, and just the details of everything are so nice. It's a really potato chippy pattern because there's like, do this many times, then move on to this part. And so it kind of has, it keeps my interest going. Obviously until you get to the sleeves and the body, and then it's just like stockinette forever until you reach this point. I don't know, something kind of like took over my body and I finished it. And I'm really proud of myself for doing that because this is my last test knit. I don't have any more test knits on my docket. I'm not going to sign up for any more for the rest of the year. We say, no, I'm not. So I can't, because I really just don't want to have deadlines as I get closer to the end of my pregnancy. I'm in the 3rd trimester already, and I just think it'll be a good idea for me to kind of focus my energy on the projects that I have on hand and maybe focus a little bit on making some stuff for baby and my husband and me. My husband's requested some projects, so I'm like, okay, this is something I'd like to do. So this is the last test knit, and I'm just so happy. I'll probably wear it in next week's episode if it's not like sweltering hot, but yeah, this is just gonna be something that I'm really gonna be excited to wear in the fall and the winter this year. And that's it for finished objects. I feel like I'm a little bit scatterbrained or all over the place today. Hopefully that's not the case. Editing me will have a fun time with this later, but yeah, I just wanted to also just grab the leftover yarn that I have from this project. It was just sitting on my desk, so it's not too far. So I have about 40 grams left of the fingering weight, and I have 15 grams left of the mohair. So I was thinking this is not really quite enough for socks for me, but I do have some yarn from another project I made a couple episodes ago. I think it was my mini mock neck. I had a really lovely green yarn that kind of goes with this by the same dyer. So I was thinking I might just combine the 2 skeins together and do a really fun half and half muscle burrow hat. And then this is 15 grams, and I do have some bits of mohair that I've just been collecting. So what I might do is save these and throw them into a Resty sweater by Hive Knits. So I know she's been it's like a thick raglan sweater, and it has like different stripes on the body with like different colors of mohair. So I might just save this and use that for a Resty sweater eventually. So that being said, I think the total yardage for my Skyline pullover was less than 3 skeins of fingering weight, plus less than 3 skeins of hand-dyed mohair. I think it was like 2,300 yards total. So probably around like 1,000 to 1,100 yards of fingering, and about the same for mohair. So if you're using hand-dyed, you don't have to go over the top crazy and buy a ton. You could probably, if you're smaller than a size 4, so I'm a size 4, which is 42-inch bust, and there is some ease built into this pattern. So if you're a size 4 or lower, you can probably get away with about like 2 skeins of yarn for this project. 2 skeins of mohair, mohair. Suri, you'd probably need more because generally Suri is like 328 yards per 50 grams, and mohair is thinner, so it's like 450 yards per 50 grams. And then this fingering weight is on the skinnier side. It's a 75-25 base, and I think it had like 437 yards per 100 grams. So it's a light fingering versus like I think some of the 2-ply, like by Explorer Knits, for example, that one's a little bit thicker. So you could get away with a little bit less yarn, and if you crop it or you do it to the pattern recommendations, you probably won't use as much as I do. I have to lengthen everything. I have to always account for a little bit more yardage in all of my patterns. So that's just like kind of why I gave that disclaimer. But I have a fair amount left, and I'm excited to kind of use up my scraps at some point. But I'm just like enjoying the process of gathering scraps of like a similar color, and then I'm gonna eventually do a big project with all of them. So that is it for finished objects today. Whew! How long have I been filming? I don't even know yet. I'm gonna take a quick break and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna talk about works in progress. And we're back. So now we're gonna go ahead and get into the works in progress. I had a little bit of water. I stepped outside for a few minutes, caught my breath, and I'm ready to get into my works in progress. So today I'm gonna go ahead and talk about all of my works in progress. So that's like things that have been kind of left to the wayside for a while. But first we're gonna talk about what's coming up next in my docket. So since I mentioned I have no more test knits, that means there's nothing that has a real urgency to get done, except for the fact that the end of the year is my deadline. And I decided I'm gonna go ahead and try to snowball some of these projects. So the snowball method is basically you work and you work and you work on the things that have the closest finish. So for example, my first project is what I think is my closest next finished object. So let me just go ahead and show that. So I have been working on this one for a really long time, but I'm bringing it back because it's time to finish it. So this is the Satsuki sweater by Sari Nordlund. And this is knit out of John Arbin Textiles Yarnadelic Sport in the shade The Beautiful Ones. So now I'll just go ahead and do a little close-up. You can see the nice, cute cables that kind of mimic my neighbor Totoro's V's on the chest. And so this is like a lovely, I want to say it's like tan, but it's really so much deeper than that, because if you really look into the yarn, it's like a little bit of pink, a little bit of yellow, blue, purple, green. It's just like has these little hues that are embedded on top of like a tannish taupe colored base. It's very lush and thick. I actually sized up my needles from the pattern. I think the pattern recommended US 4s and I'm doing this on US 6 because I wasn't able to hit gauge because the yarn is so plump, and with blocking it really plumps up even more. So you'll see I have half of a sleeve done. This hits about my elbow. So, and that's, so far it's 80 rows. So if I have to guess, I probably have at least 60 more rows. And then I think the cuff is like 3 inches long, 3.5 inches long of twisted rib. So we have a ways to go, but it's just straight stockinette. So it's just something I can kind of pick up and do whenever. I've already finished the body. That's great. And I have to do the second sleeve. The second sleeve, I need to do like the pickup, the sleeve cap, and then the full sleeve. So if I use the same energy that I did with my other projects for this one, I could definitely get the sleeves done by next week. Like next week, Thursday or Friday, I could probably finish this. And I'm just gonna try to do a simple goal of like 20 rows a day. Actually, if I do 20 rows a day, I won't finish by next week, but I'm gonna set it low, like 20 rows, and that's it, because I don't wanna burn out and like put this down for a long time. Like I wanna just have a consistent amount of progress on it every day. And sometimes what happens is like you get done with those 20 rows or whatever goal you set, and then you're like, you know what, like I could keep going on this. I could do a little bit more. And then that's when you kind of blow past the goals. At least that's how I feel about myself. What I've been doing is like I'll use my knitting notebook and I'll kind of draw out like the timeline of how many days I would like to be done with this in, and then just plan out, okay, I'm gonna do this much this day, this much this day. And more times than not, I've like kind of finished a project well before my own set deadline. So I think if I kind of plan it out like that, I can try to push myself to get this done by the next podcast. I think that's going to be my goal. By the next time I film, I want this project done. So that'll be probably in like 2 weeks. I think that's very reasonable and a doable goal. So in 2 weeks, we're going to try to finish this sweater. And that would be great because I think I started this in March and it was supposed to be a group knit with my friends, Sher and Serena and Jack. And Serena and Jack finished theirs like in April or May. And then Sharon and I have been the ones that have been kind of lagging. And we decided the next new deadline is my baby shower, which is in October. And I am pretty close to being done. I think Sharon has quite a bit more of her project left because she picked a very knitting heavy pattern. But she's also said she's gonna finish it in October. So Sharon, if you're watching this, got my eyes on you. We'll help each other finish it. So yeah, that is this. Not much more to be said. The pattern is really easy. I got it in a magazine, Aimee. It's over here actually, in the sun. It's inspired by films. And there's a lot of lovely patterns in this that I'm kind of interested in working up eventually. Some texture, some color work. Like this one is actually really, really cool. This one is inspired by the movie Kitchen Stories. And I've been watching a lot of like knitting traditions, and she always talks about the Norwegian koftas. And this kind of looks like that. It has like that lovely colorwork design all throughout, and I'm guessing it's steeked because it's a round yoke and colorwork throughout. So this would be a nice one to eventually try. And then there's like another, I have to say, like pretty much everything in this book I would knit, because they're all really, really lovely, lovely patterns. I think the one that I picked is actually probably the easiest pattern to knit from this book, which is this one, Satsuki. This is probably the easiest one. There's a lot that have just like tons of cables, tons of texture, color work. All in all, like this is just a great issue of Aimee. So I picked this up when I went to San Diego, not this recent trip, but last year. And I got it from Apricot Knitting. I didn't end up going to any yarn stores this time just because Apricot is over in, what is that area called? Liberty Station. And we were staying in North Park this time, and I just didn't feel like Ubering over onto that side of town. So, and I have so much yarn, so I really didn't need to go buy more this time. So that's it for Satsuki. And I have this much yarn. I have one more skein after this if I need it, but I really feel like this yarn goes a really long way. So I'll probably finish it with this skein of yarn. And if I have extra, I might do like a matching hat, or I might give it to Sharon if she needs it, or I might sell it. I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll just focus on finishing the project first. After that, we can decide what we do with the leftovers. Cool. Then the next project that I have are the Dear Bjorn socks. So this is also a pattern from a publication, 52 Weeks of Socks. I have the pattern, I think after the book got published, the designer received the rights back like after a certain amount of time. And I have that pattern. So these are the socks. I would really appreciate it if you did not look too close at it, because this is another project that I started and then I left for a while and then I picked it back up. I think my gauge changed a little bit. I'm working on the heel turn right now, like the gusset increases. Because it's toe up, you kind of do everything a little bit backwards, and I've only worked cuff down socks up till this point. So for me, doing the heel backwards is not intuitive at all. I might be a hater of toe up socks from this point on. I think I'm a hater of like the heel flap gusset from a toe up perspective. I don't know. It's fine. It's the pattern is pretty easy now that I kind of have figured out how to do the left twist or the right twist without like a cable needle, because I was really struggling during these initial rows, and now that I've kind of figured it out, it's going by a lot faster. I've made a pretty obvious cabling mistake somewhere in the foot, but I don't think the recipient will care. I also don't think she watches my videos, so it's not a big deal if she does notice. But this is for my sister-in-law. We visited her and her partner last year in Prague. They live in Prague, and we were there visiting for our honeymoon. And we went to Yarn Queen in Prague, and she picked up this yarn because her and her partner, they were basically our tour guides the entire time we were in Prague. So because of which, I wanted to give them a little gift of making something for them. So I made her boyfriend a Musselburgh hat, and she asked if I could make her socks. So I'm making these Dear Bjorn socks. I think in hindsight, I probably should have done like a simpler pattern, or at least something I'm more comfortable with, because this one, I feel like I kind of gassed out doing the cable repeat initially. And then now that I've done a little bit more projects with cables, I feel like it's a lot easier for me to do. Regardless, it's going to be a really beautiful sock, and she has pretty small feet, so I'm not too worried that it's going to take much longer. If I focus on my goals, which is to finish all my whips, this one will get done very soon. I also do have a little bit of a deadline that's kind of motivating me to finish it faster. She is going to be in the States in October, and I need to hand this off to my in-laws because they're going to go see her. She's going to be on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. So my in-laws are going to go see her, and I would like to hand these off to them to give to her, because shipping from here to Prague, often things get lost or things don't arrive, and I just would rather give them to her, like hand them off to her, than trying to ship them. So it's either I give them to her now, or I have to wait until she comes and visits again, which might be in like 8 or 9 months. So I figured might as well just like push myself to finish them now. And she'll get some nice woolen socks for her cold winter, because Prague does get pretty cold in the winter. Now, details about the yarn. This is Kremke Soul Wool Lazy Linen sock. It's like 75% wool, or like 85% wool, 15% linen, which is what I keep picking out. I keep picking like the linen bits out. I don't know if this is necessarily like a good fit for socks, but she picked the yarn and she requested socks. So I might just put a note and just be like, these are house socks. Don't wear them outside the house because they may not last with a lot of wear and tear. She's also a crafter. She is like very, very good at sewing, and she is an artist as well. So I think she would understand how to take care of a knit finished object, and socks are pretty easy to take care of. So that is this. So this is the right foot. So I have to do the left foot, and then that's about it. And I'm already at the heel. So I'm doing, I think I said this already, but I'm doing gusset increases. So I'm not planning to do a very long leg portion. I'll probably just do 10 to 12 rows and then start the cuff. She's also a runner, and I hear runners' calves are very strong, so I don't want to make them too long because they may not fit past her ankle. And I think ankle socks are really cute too. So yeah, that's this one. Hoping to do like a little progress every day, and that will get me to the finish line on this. Okay, we are so incredibly chatty today. This is really going to be a long one because I'm looking at how much stuff I have left, and woof, there's a lot. Okay, this next project is probably my last, I don't want to say last, but like my last impulsive cast on as well. When my friend group decides they want to make a project, I have no choice but to oblige. So the project that we've all decided to make is the Stripey Turtle Tank by Emily Curtis. This is my stripey turtle so far. And you'll see I have a bunch of different colored stripes coming throughout. So the Stripey Turtle Tank, it's meant to kind of use your scraps just because you have so many stripes that go throughout. It is a cropped tank top, and that is a little bit of a problem for me right now because with the size of my belly, I don't know where to crop. I also don't really intend on wearing this too much while I'm pregnant. Like I'll probably wear this more like in the spring next year. My friends decided that they're going to wear this to a yarn festival that they're all going to, but I will not be attending that yarn festival. But they were like, just make it anyways. Like just we'll match for like a photo for another time. I'm like, of course, obviously. The yarn that I'm using is, so this eggplant purple color is Explorer Knits and Fibers. And this is in the colorway Fig. I don't know what collection this is from because I did a yarn swap with a friend who's also in the Bay Area, and I gave her some like hedgehog fibers and some other stuff, and she gave me some Explorer Knits. And I don't know, this was like before I knew any of Explorer Knits' colors and stuff. So I don't know what this is from, but I only have one skein of this, and it kind of alternates between every single stripe. So I'm a little concerned I'm gonna run out of yarn. So hopefully this will last me through the entire body, and then if I need to, I'll do contrasting finishes for the neckband and the I-cord for the sleeves, or not sleeves, but for like the armholes I-cord. So that's this main color. Then from bottom to top, we have 6 minis. So I'll just pull them out now. So I'll go from the bottom. My first stripe color, oh God, yarn barf, okay. Oh no, okay, my first color is this Woolberry Poetry. The same yarn that I used for my socks, I decided I'm just gonna throw it into my stripy turtle. Uh-oh, we are dropping everything. Okay. Then I have leftover yarn from my Passport pullover. So the Passport pullover was a sweater, a baby sweater that I made, and I have some red yarn that is left over from that. So the next color is Sewrella. This is Hot Toddy. And when I finish this color, I'm just gonna switch and use the rest of my Explorer Knits Redwoods. I think I have maybe 20 grams total, so I'll just like switch the stripes back and forth with that. Then after that, I have this cream color yarn that I've been using. So I have this, plus I found another cream colored mini skein in my stash. So I'm just gonna use up this little itty bitty bit and then add this in right after. Then I have this Malabrigo, I think it's just sock, Malabrigo sock. And this is the color I used for my sister-in-law's boyfriend's Musselburgh hat. So I have this for another contrast stripe. Then I'm using this Sewrella tonal. I believe it's from Winter Tonals, her yearly like winter tonals or whatever. I don't know what the color is. I think it could be cashmere, or it could be like it's one of like the slope ones. It's not bunny slope, but I don't remember. It's based off of like a winter chalet or something like that. So it's like a light purple with a little bit of brown in it. And finally, the last color is Muckross. At least I think it's Muckross because it's from an Explorer Knits mini skein like mystery set. And this color kind of reminds me of Muckross. It's like a grello color. And I think these two look really cool together. So my intention with picking the stripes was to kind of have a little bit of fall theme going. I really wanted to be able to use as much of my mini skeins as I could. I didn't really want to wind up anything new or break up a sweater quantity just for this project. And I was in the lucky position of having most of the stuff like already wound up, ready to go. So I just worked on one color repeat just to see if I liked how all the colors came together. And I do. I think my surprising favorite actually is Muckross, which I wasn't expecting because I really actually don't like Grello colors. I don't lean towards like green and like yellow-green colors all that much, but in this pattern so far, it's been really nice to kind of see it all come together. So since this is a crop, I will still probably extend it, and I will try to just like use up as much as I can of this. We will make do with what we have. I do have a fair amount of mini skeins I could probably like dip into if I need more of that similar color. But if anyone happens to have scraps of Explorer Knits Fig on Denali sock, let me know, because I would love to kind of keep it, that base color, the same. I don't know what I was thinking when I picked it. Like, I probably should have picked something that I had a little bit more yardage of, but I was like, you know, you can just like figure it out. And the size that I'm knitting is a size 6, I believe. I think I'm knitting something with like a 43-inch bust, and it's like 0 to 2 inches of ease. So I decided to go for my current bust because I think I mentioned this before, but my chest size has increased due to the pregnancy. I used to be like 40 or 41, and now it's like increased a couple of inches. And I'm kind of like in this in between, like what size do I knit for? Do I knit for my current size, or do I knit for my pre-pregnancy size, or do I knit for the size I think I want to be later? And I think I'm trying to lean towards like knitting for the size I am right now. And as I've mentioned before, I really don't mind things being a little bit bigger on me, but if things are too small, I definitely won't wear them. So for me right now, it just makes sense to kind of size up where I need to, and then just evaluate if the garment has a lot of ease, then I can always size or keep the size as my like original size, or if it's more intended to have negative ease, then I size down. So that's about it for things that I'm actively working on. Now we have things that I have kind of forgotten about. First, one of them, actually, I haven't forgotten about it, but it's something that I know I want to get done soon, but I just haven't really put the effort into doing it. I started my Prism blanket, and by started, I mean like I literally just did like the tiniest amount. It's not enough to like talk about. The Prism blanket by Purl Soho is a free pattern, and I'm knitting it with Purl Soho Good Wool. And I wound up the colors for the first triangles, and I just, for whatever reason, have not gained any momentum on it. It is a very easy pattern. It's like 99% garter, and then probably a little bit of picking up stitches here and there for when you have to connect. I just like haven't thought about this. I think for some reason the idea of knitting a blanket is not quite as enticing as like a garment, but I know that the blanket would be a very important part of my child's life if they like it, or it'll be a great addition to my throws. And I always have a blanket on my legs because I'm always cold from like the waist down. So whether my child wants it or whether it's just going to be an heirloom piece for the house, I know I do want to work on it. And originally I was going to try to get it done by the time the baby was born, but I'm starting to think that's not like the most realistic goal, just because I have quite a bit to knit on and I'm just like not drawn to it at all. So what I'm thinking is like I want to try to get it done maybe by like March next year. My original like intention was I would use it as like the backdrop of like the monthly markers for my child's photos, but I just don't think it's like, I don't want to kill myself over this knit. Like I just want to enjoy it and take my time with it, but we'll see. I'm talking about this like very like not optimistically because I really don't know if I'm gonna get to it that much, just because there's so many other projects that are like, ooh, that looks fun, this looks great. So I think I just need to maybe like set aside like an hour or two a week and just work on it a little by little and hopefully gain the momentum that I need to actually start really enjoying it. I love the Purl Soho Good Wool. Like there's nothing wrong with the yarn and there's nothing wrong with the pattern either. for some reason it just hasn't clicked yet. Like the excited, I want to keep working on this thought process hasn't like clicked. So it'll get there eventually. I just don't know when. So yeah. Next. Now we have a big old basket of whips. Okay, where do we start? So the first bag I pulled is my great gingham. I still haven't frogged her. I will. I think I'm going to like recast this on my birthday, which is coming up on Monday. And my plan is I'm just gonna restart it, and that'll be kind of like my birthday cast on to myself. And I'm just gonna take a sweet, slow time, take my time through these floats, work on it, and like just try to get my tension right and not feel too concerned if I don't finish this in a timely manner. This is one of the projects I really don't mind if I don't finish this year because I just started it. The things I want to get done this year are things that I started last year. So for my great gingham, I was going to do the Wandering Flock knit along, but I just don't think it's realistic for me to finish it in time for the flock along to be done. So I'll restart it on my birthday, and then we'll just see how far we get. It's kind of a serotonin knit because I love the yarn, but it also is a pretty complex knit because I am not that good at color work yet, and my tension just needs some practice. So that is Forgotten Whip number 1. Forgotten Whip number 2. It's really not that forgotten. Oh my gosh, this is like, I finished the ribbing and I started my first color and then that's it. Okay, so this is my tessellated vest. I think I was like just starting the mosaic knitting portion, and then I was like, yeah, I don't feel like working on this right now, so I'm gonna put it away. And then I just like never gravitated towards it again. This one I do actually really want to finish soon-ish, because since it's a vest version, I can wear it with like a lot of different outfits and it's seasonally appropriate for the fall. Also, it being mosaic knitting, I feel like I can work on it a little bit faster than I could stranded colorwork because I'm not actually like holding floats. I'm just slipping stitches. So this one, I think I will pick up as soon as I finish my John Arbin Textiles knit, my Satsuki pullover. So I think I might pick this back up at that time, but I do have like the whole thing to go. I've only done ribbing, so this one will take me a while because mosaic knitting is like basically re-knitting the same row twice to like see a stitch get worked up. I've talked about this in my last episode. There's really not much to talk about again. We'll just get to it when we get to it. Oh, my most forgotten child. Oh no. My Stria cardigan by Andrea Mowry. This one I'm like a little bit crying over because there's just so little left to do. Okay. This is a Stria cardigan by Andrea Mowry. She is lovely. She is gorgeous. She is beautiful. She is everything except for done. I did a little bit of thinking and I think I'm going to add some length to my sleeve. What I did was I finished like the row repeat and I was like, I'm just going to start the ribbing. And then when I tried it on, it's actually a little bit short. And I think I would just prefer to have a longer sleeve. Now what I could do is I could block it and see if it lengthens, but I really think I need to add like another inch to it. So I need to add a little bit more of the pattern, probably one more stripe's worth, and then I'll do the ribbing. And this was my first tubular. I don't think it was tubular. I think I did Italian bind off for this one, but it looks weird in some spots. So I'm just gonna cut it and then frog the ribbing and add another stripe, and then this sleeve will be done. And I'll just mimic that for this side because I've picked up and I've done one stripe on this side. And I think the second sleeve should go by pretty quickly, even though every other row is purling. And then I have body yaddy yaddy yaddy. So I don't remember how much she asks you to knit for the body, but I think for me, it probably goes to my middle of my waist right now. So I probably need at least like 5 or 6 more inches before I feel comfortable with it. And then I have to pick up the button band, and then I have to do the button band and a tubular bind off. This actually doesn't feel like a ton of work anymore. I think because I've just knit so many sweaters in the past couple of years. And I don't feel like this is actually as daunting as it was when I first picked it up. I was like kind of dumb when I started knitting this. This was my first sweater. And I think that's why I failed. It's because it's a fingering weight sweater. It's fisherman's rib, half fisherman's rib. And it's a lot of knitting. And now I don't feel so stressed out about it. Like looking at this, I'm like, oh, that's like really not that much at all. So I think that's like a better mindset to be in when it comes to this. And I do want to finish it because it's very autumnal with the striping colors. So maybe what I should do is like pick this up for my birthday instead. I don't know. I'm kind of excited, like feeling this again. Like I'm kind of feeling like a little bit like, wow, I really missed you. This is using Knit Picks palette. The main color is Oyster Heather, and then the other colors are like Salsa Heather. I'll just leave the colorways up on the screen. Salsa Heather, Masala, some Cayenne, something else. I don't remember. It's been a while. And I'm using a Hello Lavender marker. I think it's the Bee Butt one. Please focus, please focus. Okay, you're not gonna focus, that's fine. Yeah, wow, I didn't expect to feel kind of like excited to see this again. I'm gonna leave this outside. Maybe that'll give me some energy. So those are it for my my remaining whips. There's 2 more that are kind of like in such an early stage that it's not even worth talking about. And I've just decided I'm gonna hibernate them until the spring. So we have, to finish for this year, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's only five whips to finish for the rest of the year. I am planning to cast on a cardigan at the end of October, the Calm Down cardigan by Lily Kate Makes. So that will be like probably my last new cast on for the year, but that actually doesn't seem like a lot anymore. Like that's only 2 sweaters with sleeves, 1 tank top, 1 vest. Maybe I can finish my Great Gingham this year. I don't know. This is like actually making me feel a lot better. I'm like, wow, that's really not that bad. For my upcoming plans, I was thinking like if I wanted to impulsively cast anything on, I could do like gift knitting because 'tis the season of Christmas coming up. So I have a Manhattan hat on deck for my dad that I need to work on. And then I have some gift knits for some babies in my life, as well as baby knits for my own baby. So I think like if I can kind of get the big projects done and then have some little stuff on the side that is easier to work on, that'll kind of help me get through the remainder of my projects. Wow, I actually feel really good about where the status of my whips are. So I feel like I can get some stuff done in the next couple of months. And that's going to be so exciting because it'll just be nice to start the new year fresh, not have any lingering long-term whips, and then just kind of be able to work on whatever tickles my fancy at that time. Realistically, like I don't know how much I'll actually be able to knit. I hear that knitting with a newborn is like touch and go. It depends on the baby. Some babies only want to sleep with contact to skin. Some babies are a little bit more independent. I don't know what it's going to be like. So I just want to have a clean slate so I can just pick up whatever I want to at that point. So that's it for all the whips, everything going on for the rest of the year. And I feel really good. I actually feel great. And I'm just excited to kind of get some of these done. And stripes are definitely very addicting to knit. So I think some of these projects will go by a lot faster than I anticipate. So today we're going to talk about all my hot pink yarns. I have a lot now. I didn't have a lot like 1 month ago. And now I have quite a bit because when my friend Sharon went to Flock Fiber Festival, I was just in this hot pink craze. I like needed everything electric pink, hot pink, neon pink. And so I'm going to show you some of that yarn. So first, this is the first hot pink yarn I ever bought. This is from Purl Soho in, what is it called? What colorway is this? Pink Pop. So I bought 3 skeins of this for a half and half triangles wrap. And I was originally going to pair it with, I think, Lychee Pink, which is in my stash somewhere in one of the cubes. But it's a lot more of like a mauve-y, reddish pink. It's very like not the color combination I had anticipated for this. So I think what I'm going to do is when I'm ready to do a half and half wrap, I will buy, I think, Peony Pink, which is like a light peachy pink, to go with this one. So this is hot pink number 1, and that's going to go into a half and half triangles wrap. Then hot pink number 2. This is in my neon era, very popular colorway. So Sharon picked this up for me at Flock. She got me 4 skeins of fingering, and then she also got me a different Suri that I was going to pair with this, but it ended up not working out. So then I also was able to get my hands on some in my neon era Suri. Now, what is this going to be? This is going to turn into a petite knit champagne cardigan. I've seen the champagne cardigan a lot, and my friend Jack has one, and I see her wearing it all the time, and it's such a timeless classic cardigan. So I'm going to turn this into that. It's going to be a very, very, very bright cardigan. I recognize that I'm not going to be able to wear it with every single outfit ever. So I probably will also want to make a neutral version of that cardigan at some point, but this is so enticing to me. And I think this with black buttons would be really pretty, or like black and white, like speckled buttons. I don't know. I haven't thought about the haberdashery yet, but I will eventually cast this on and get going on that. I'm guessing this will probably be a springtime knit for me, just because I don't anticipate working on this right away. But I think like come early spring, I'll probably want to do another cardigan, and something bright and lively would be great like this. So then Sharon also picked up the Moondrake Fuwa for me. I talked about this a little bit in my last episode. This is 70% brushed cashmere, 30% superwash merino, and I got this to make a slightly sassy V by Aimee Sher. And I'm going to knit this with Sharon, and I'm also going to knit this with Ariel from the Airy Knits podcast. We haven't decided when we're going to knit this, probably again in the spring, just because we're getting into all those sweaters and everything now. So that is this one. And then next I have Porter Wool Co. So I have Suri and Fingering. So this Suri is what I asked Sharon to pick up for me from Flock. And this is what I thought didn't quite work with the Explorer knits, because if you'll see them next to each other, they're actually quite different. The Porter Wool colorway is very neon, versus the Explorer knits one has a little bit more of like a reddish pink to it. So what I did do was when Porter Wool had her in-stock update, I picked up the matching colorway. Now this, I have not quite decided what I'm going to do with this yet, but I'm thinking I might do a Harlow V-neck sweater by Kadri. Again, haven't decided because it's a fingering plus Suri combination, which is like my favorite combination to work with, is fingering plus mohair or just fingering or something with Suri. Like that's just one of my favorite things to knit with. So I haven't decided. I'll take some suggestions. I know Petite Knit has tons of patterns I could do. Same with My Favorite Things knitwear. Same with Twin Knits. They have like a really nice textured cardigan pattern that I would like to make. A lot of these Danish designers, they usually have fingering plus mohair combinations. So this is kind of open to anything. I haven't decided, but I really, really love the neon. It's so fun. And then the last thing I got was from Sewrella Yarn. So Sewrella Yarn had a Taylor Swift collection, and this colorway is Shake It Off on her Stellina base. This color is just so beautiful with the gold Stellina flecks coming through. So I only got 2 skeins of this. I'm going to make a Queen's Cami by Tori. I think she has a really lovely, like, shaped, I don't think it's like a curved V-neck, and then the bottom edge is like a, not scalloped, but it has like an open flare at the bottom, and I think that would just be a really flattering camisole to have in my wardrobe. I am kind of leaning away from crop tops mostly and leaning towards like a little bit of a longer top, so I think this would be great. And now the moment that you've probably all been waiting for, all the yarn next to each other. Let's see if I can actually hold all of them in my hands. This is gonna be hard. All right, here we go. So this is all the yarn together. Isn't that crazy? And the thing is they all look different. It might not be as noticeable on camera, but I think the least neon is the Sewrella. I think the most neon is the Porter wool. Although the Porter wool, the Porter wool is like probably the most saturated. The pink pop from Purl Soho, it's really nice and bright, but because it has the linen coming through, it kind of mutes it a little bit. And then the Explorer Knits is like the deepest, richest pink. So these are all my hot pinks. I better start working on them. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have a cubby just full of hot pink yarn, which is not a problem. I have like a cubby that's basically just all pink yarn at this point, but I do like my pastels. I like my pinks. I like all the colors. And then while I'm at it, I just wanted to talk about my other Sewrella yarns that I got from the Taylor Swift collection. It's not much. I got 2 skeins of Enchanted on her silk sock base. So this is a really beautiful pastel purple with white, cream, beige, and like a deeper purple throughout. I got 2. I'm gonna make like a tank top or a t-shirt with it. And then I got Karma on the sock base. And I think the matching colorway is like Midnights. For Karma, she had like 3 different colors you could pick from, and I just picked the Midnights color because I thought that was a nice contrast. I think the other option was to do it with the hot pink, this color, what is it? Shake It Off. I think that was the other option, but I was like, let me just get something different, but these look really good together too. So we'll see. The silk sock base is really nice and luxurious. It feels amazing. So it's, I think, 50% silk, 50% superwash, 438 yards per 100 grams. It feels great. So this would be a great t-shirt or a great tank top of some sort. And I don't know how it works up. It might pool, it might not, but I think it is awesome. So that's all that I got from Sewrella. I also wanted to highlight another dyer that I just adore deeply. I love pretty much everything she comes out with. Sunday Fibre Co, based in the Vancouver, British Columbia area in Canada. So in the summer, she had a collection. I forget what the collection was based on. I think it was called Cottage Core Collection. And I ordered from that. And then she also recently had like a sale on her site for in-stock orders. So I'm just going to show everything that I got from the Cottage Core and the in-stock order. So the first colorway I got from Sunday Fibre is Cottage Core. Cottage Core has some amazing purple, blue, apricot, yellow throughout. So I got some of this, And I also got one skein of apricot, which is like a lovely peachy light orange color. And I originally got these two together to make a coloring book tee, which I've made before in linen quill, and I think it'd be nice to have a really nice merino version of it. I could probably get a full sleeve out of this instead of like a 3/4 sleeve. So that's my original thoughts, but I could do anything with it. And then I also got a couple sock sets. I'm kind of going to zoom now because I'm running out of time and I'm also running out of battery. The first sock set I got, Delphinium is the main color. The mini is Hydrangea. This is barefoot sock, 80% merino, 20% recycled nylon. Such a beautiful color. Whites, blues, purples, baby blues, all throughout. I don't think this can be socks. Like, I think this has to be a really nice accessory, like maybe a nice hat, maybe a one skein shawl. I don't know. I just like the idea of wearing this on my feet. Hurts me because it's so beautiful. It needs to be something that is just shown off. The other one that I have is Dahlia's and Japanese Anemone. So Dahlia's is the yellowish purple one, and Japanese Anemone is this purple color. Again, another beautiful, beautiful colorway. Actually, when she released this collection, I wanted every single color, which is not financially sustainable. So I did take a lot of time to kind of like pare down my list, but these were just too gorgeous to pass up. So then finally, from her in-stock update, I got 4 skeins of this colorway called Cotton Candy. This is on her Good Sport base. So it's 3-ply sport weight yarn, 280 yards to 150 grams. I feel like 280 to 115 grams is maybe closer to a DK. I got 4 of these. We'll see what I can make with it. Not sure yet, but it is lovely. So this one actually does remind me of Cotton Candy colors. It also kind of reminds me of like Sleeping Beauty's Castle from Sewrella Yarn, except this one's a little bit softer, and the one from Sewrella, like some of the blues and the purples are a little bit brighter. So can't wait to make something with this. I have enough for like a t-shirt. I might do something from Rachel Kurihara. I know she has a sport weight pattern. I think it's like a wrap shirt of some sort. So I might do that, or I'll just have to look up some more sport weight patterns. Whew, what a long episode. I was gonna get into like personal stuff, but I just feel like I've been talking for so long and now I'm like really tired and I'm a little bit hungry and I just want to knit. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you enjoyed everything that I had to talk to you about. I'll see you guys in about 2 weeks and have a great beginning to fall. Bye.